All right, looks like live on YouTube, live on Facebook. Let's get the comments, all messages, comments. All right. What's going on, guys? Here we go. Doreen's popping over on YouTube. Good to see you. Stacy Combs, hello. Good to see you. Facebook's a little behind today. Cindy Buckner, how are you? Good to see you. What's going on, Michelle? Good to see you. Tamara, there you are. Facebook's starting to come alive now. Deborah Mott is in the house. Good to see you, Deborah. Good to see you, Kristen. Blister Bill, what's going on? Salutations. Wirehead, there you are, buddy. Our resident Canuck is in the house. D. Stein, hello. Dean Spires, hello. Laura, how are you doing? Happy Sunday, everybody. Michelle, Michael, Harry, Robin, Tracy. Hello to everybody. Hope everybody's having a great weekend. Happy Sunday. Cindy says finally digging out of all the snow. Deborah over on Facebook saying finally ready for winter to be over. Eagles beat the Pack. Bills took Denver. So the playoffs are shaping up. What's going on, Doug? Hola to you as well. Mickey, how are you? Good to see you. Hey, Lawrence, what's up, buddy? Good to see you as well. Sick of the cold? Yeah, I mean, hey, there's Kevin. Good to see you, buddy. Am I ready for some trash talk on Bills Ravens? Listen, I started this season, unlike most, with zero expectations. It's kind of ironic that I said that this was one season that I was just going to enjoy the games as they play out. I wasn't going to worry about it. I had no expectations. Josh Allen aside, there were no huge names on our team. So it is what it is, and we're seeing how things are going. Hey, Tony Vasquez, good to see you. Hey, Anna Marie. Anne Marie coming in from San Diego. Tina saying, go Longhorns. So we'll see. I'm along for the ride. I'm hopeful for the Bills to do well. I had no expectations going into this season. So whatever happens, happens, and I'm here for it. Hoping good things. But I've been a Bills fan long enough to not expect too much. Hey, Brian, what's up, buddy? Allen is going to destroy Denver. He had a good game against Denver. First half, Denver hung in with us. Second half, it was all over. We're enjoying only 5 or 6 inches of snow right now. More coming down. Yeah, we our kids got off of school on Friday for a snow day. Unlike when we grew up, there was no huddling around the AM radio waiting to hear your school called. There was no going to the television set and reading the scroll along the bottom. Everybody was notified via app the night before. They went e-learning. Didn't even have a traditional snow day where they could not learn. They still had e-learning. And then, of course, because I'm in the Charlotte area, the only thing missing from our snow day, I guess you can guess it. Hey, John, what's going on? No snow. We got nothing. We got a little bit of ice, and that was about it. But at least the kids got to be home for Friday, so kind of a long weekend. Kevin asking if we're going to break the Norwood curse. I got no idea, dude. As long as we don't go wide right or 13 seconds. That was just as brutal a couple years back. Popping in to say hi, still at work. I want snow in the south so bad. We keep getting a dusting. I want snow. I've had a lifetime of it. I'm okay. Hey, Christopher Carter. Hey, James. Hey, Pixie. How are you? Neptune Red. How are you? Buttsburg's gonna be blocked. I don't know what's wrong with you people. Hide user on this channel. Bye bye. Hey, what's going on, Vales Black Cats? Bethany, hello. Tracy, hello. Yeah, Snowmageddon in Texas. What's going on in New York, Rebecca? How are you? Did the Bills win? They did. I think it was 31-7. I was working during the game, and after a while, it was fourth quarter didn't much matter. We had the game strongly in hand by then. Walked to school on a snow day 'cause my mother was. I remember sitting outside. So there were a couple years in elementary school where I didn't walk to school. I actually rode the bus, even though by middle school, mostly we moved closer to the school, so we fell within that half-mile restriction. If you lived a half mile from the school or closer where I grew up, you had to walk or ride your bike, or your parents could take you. But the bus only picked you up if you were further than a half a mile away from the school. So I had to walk then. But early on, I did end up taking the bus. And I remember there was a day when I'm out by the bus stop and it's 8 o'clock in the morning. No, I'm in the Charlotte area, Emma. Um, it was insane. I was just waiting outside the bus stop and waiting and waiting and waiting, and it was cold, and my nose was freezing shut, and it was absolutely freezing to death. And then, sure enough, finally, some neighbor took pity upon me and let me know that I, in fact, did not have school that day, that it was called on account of the weather. But my parents didn't know, so I ended up waiting outside the bus for my bus to show up that never showed up. Andrew has been watching the original Star Wars trilogy. What's going on, Life? Good to see you over on YouTube. Life on Two Wheels, Boston, MA. Not too late. We just got started. We didn't have very many snow days. Usually, if it happened, it was more on account of like really hazardous driving conditions because of ice. We had a couple really bad ice storms in Western New York, and that would do it. Do you remember the blizzards and the snow drifts we'd get? I've got pictures as a kid where the snow, because they would clear the sidewalks, you see people walking down the sidewalks, and the snow is like 8 feet high on each side. It's like walking through a tunnel. Yep, Finley the Bills won. What's going on, Barbara? How are you? Walked uphill both ways, loved it. I mean, listen, for sure, our parents probably, no probablys about it. My parents definitely had it worse. But that said, we still had it worse than the kids today have it. I sit in line, my wife sits in line, we take turns at the car rider line, just sitting there. And I make content or I do my editing while I'm there, so it works out for me. But I couldn't imagine my parents sitting in a line with the car burning gasoline in the 70s and 80s waiting for me to get out of school. It just wasn't going to happen. Only time we ever had a snow day is because the snow was too high. Snowbanks were lots of fun. Or like we would be sitting, like we had the grocery store parking lots, and you'd have that one giant mountain that by like March was 4 stories tall, and it was all snow, and we'd play King of the Mountain on that. That was fun. Go Bills. I'm here again on mom phone. Hey, what's going on? Good to see you, Janet, i.e. Life. Good to see you. Go Bills. It's a good day. Walked to school during a snowstorm to find the doors were locked and the school closed. Yeah, generally speaking, I was warned away by the bus stop. That was a good feeling. Like, I think we almost cheat our kids by letting them know the night before. There was something really cool about putting let's see, what were the traditions? Some schools would put a spoon in the freezer, spoon under your pillow, pajamas inside out, ice cubes in the toilet. We would do all these things in order to try to bring on the snow day and then go to bed hoping that, you know what, we're going to have it. We're going to get that snow day. And then you woke up in the morning and you had that anticipation, and it was just amazing. It was really cool. And once we found out we had a snow day, it's not like we went back to bed. We didn't want to sleep. That was a day that everybody put the Wonder Bread bags on their feet, put our feet in those snowmobile boots, and just played outside with friends all day long. Did I see that Mulligan's Brick Bar burnt down last weekend? I did, guys. Mulligan's Brick Bar is ice cubes in the toilet. Yeah, it was a thing. Mulligan's was a bar, college bar back in Buffalo. It is an iconic part of my memories, and it burnt down. I'm just grateful that I got a chance to go back to Buffalo over the summer, and I've got some video and some pictures of me and a couple of my buddies in Mulligan's, 3:30 in the morning, doing shots of Crown and playing foosball at 54 years old. Really, really glad that I got to go back and experience that one more time. Yeah, the crazies are out. I see them all on YouTube. Thank you guys for moderating. I mean, it's not like they can offend us, so that's not much of a problem. It's just juvenile. Today's not the same as back then. Some things are, some things aren't. Some things are better, a lot's worse. But that's why we get together and talk. I had a guy on my Instagram page give me a comment saying, he's glad I'm able to, uh, I don't know how he put it, monetize my content. He's glad I'm able to make money doing this. However, he knows whether or not or how much money I make, I don't know. But that's irrelevant. He's like, but it's sad that you're stuck in the past. And I gotta snap back and I go, no, what's sad is that you can't just scroll by. You see something with thousands of comments, hundreds of thousands of views, and your first inclination is to shoot it down. The internet's a big place. There's lots out there for everybody. It's not that we can't leave it alone. It's not that we're living in the past. It's that, you know what? We're talking to each other. And it's fun to realize that no matter where we grew up, we share so much in common. And I'll go one further. A lot of the stuff that I'm talking about now, I'm making a concerted effort to talk to my kids about, to see what about the good stuff at least we can bring back again. No problem, Carlos. Good to see you. Hey, Sandy. Chris, being Gen Xers, how do we deal with parents passing? Blessed that I still have my mom. I lost my dad a couple of years back. It's tough. My mom used to say that you're never truly an adult until there's no one on this earth that can call you their child. And there's something to that. I grew up a little more than I wanted to when my dad passed. And I still have my mom around, and I cherish that. I'm really glad for that. It's hard. It's hard watching them get older. Do I know what Gabe owners had been saying? I don't know what that means. I treasure the past. It makes me who I am today. Bills fans, let's go Buffalo. Hey, Gina Thomas, good to see you. Not looking forward to my. Well, and I mean, I would hope. Hey, Hokey, good to see you. I would hope no one is in a position where they're looking forward to their. But do you remember what a huge, at least for me, I can only speak for me, I guess. What a huge fear it was. I remember being 7, 6, 5, 8, 9 years old and laying in bed at night. And those thoughts that can only come to you when you're like 5 or 6 years old and can't sleep at night. Those fears, those anxieties that only come to you then. And I remember just thinking, my God, my dad's not going to be here one day. My mom's going to die someday. And then you finally bridge the gap at some point where you realize that, wait a minute, as bad as that is, someday I'm going to die. And I mean, that was like a huge realization as a kid that scared the hell out of me. And yeah, we don't look forward to those things happening now, but they don't carry the same weight of fear as they did then. And then we have those discussions with our kids. And when my 12-year-old came to me when she was younger and expressed those feelings, at least I sat down and talked to her. I remember trying to have that conversation with my mom, and God love her, the advice I got was, don't think about it. Oh, Stacy, I love that. Death is just the door. I pray to God that's true. I just remember, hey, Jason Eklund, being told don't think about it. If we had intrusive thoughts, if we had things that we were thinking about that scared us, that gave us anxiety, that made us sad, we were just told put it away. Absolutely, Carlos. Prayers going out to California for sure. It's hard when your parents and all your aunts and uncles pass and you realize that you're old. I went to a wedding last summer. True story. Turned to my wife at one point in the wedding and was complaining a little bit that kids today are different. And what I meant by different was that they didn't invite the old people the way that we used to. And what I meant was, I told my wife at our wedding, we invited my parents' friends, my in-laws' friends. The place was filled with older people, and they would sit along the periphery of the dance floor. And every once in a while, an old couple would go on the dance floor, and we'd all think it was so cute. And I said, look how much it's changed. There's hardly any old people here. And my wife looked at me like I was the biggest idiot in the room, which given any given room, it might be true. She didn't get that I didn't get the fact that there were old people at the wedding. It was just us. Yeah, exactly, Sarah. That's the story. And I'll tell it from time to time because it's funny, but it's also so true. We don't realize that we're the old people. Our parents realized it. My grandparents realized it. I'm sorry to hear that, Sandy. I think my parents ran to it. Maybe not my mom. My mom's a different breed. But a lot of our. Oh, thank you, Jenny. You guys played a good game. A lot of people in previous generations embraced the old. They may have even gotten older before their time. I will certainly say that before they hit their 50s, they were there. And I think a lot of us aren't. We're choosing to think of it as a choice. We're not old yet. It didn't help that nearly every writer they showed me in school, not sure where that came from. Okay. Yeah, my dad suffered with that as well, Natalie. Lots of good things to bring back again. Saturday morning cartoons, family friendly restaurants, family time. I mean, we had forced family time. If we wanted to watch television after 8 o'clock at night, we were forced to watch with our folks, right? I don't know how many of you had TVs in your rooms when you were really young. We didn't. When I was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, later on by the mid 80s, like high school, I got like a 13-inch black and white Emerson, but that was more because my mom didn't want me to ruin the Zenith with our Atari. So I was given a small black and white for my room. But before that, it was forced family time. Jenny says, didn't have a TV in my room, wasn't allowed a TV in my room. It's not me says, no TV in room here. Melchis says, nope, not in my room. And that was the point. So we didn't have TVs in our room. So once our parents came home from work and once we came inside from being outside, if we wanted to watch TV, we either convinced our parents to let us watch what we wanted to, few and far between, or we watched what they were watching. But either way, we were all together. And I think that's kind of cool. I think everybody's on their own individual screens in their own individual rooms. I even know couples. I have very good friends, couples that the husband's in one room watching what he wants and the wife's in the other watching what she wants. And I mean, I'm not here to judge the way anybody does anything. That's all well and good. But it's not even just the kids in separate rooms now. It's the family as well. It's the couple as well. I remember the TV, stereo, radio, turntable, huge furniture. I do too, Christopher, with about 4 inches of wax buildup from Pledge all over that thing. Which is why we watch shows like Dallas and Dynasty. Exactly. There's no reason for us to have been watching those shows except for the fact that that's what our parents were watching, so we watched with them. Love Boat, Fantasy Island. If you think back finally on those shows, you might think that it was kid-friendly television. I promise you it really wasn't. The doctor on Love Boat. I mean, dude, the guy was a perv. The first season of Fantasy Island was downright scary. If you watch Good Times or even more so Sanford and Son or The Jeffersons, the language on The Jeffersons would get an R rating today. What's going on, Luna? Good to see you. The Jeffersons literally would have an R rating. I was just previewing an episode I wanted to use for a video, and I'll stretch the envelope. I know we don't offend easily. And the Jeffersons was like, what, 8, 9 o'clock? It wasn't like it was late night cable television. It was network TV. And George was calling out their neighbor, called him a honky. And then it got back and forth. Next thing I know, on the clip that I was editing to put on my YouTube page, on my Facebook page, the N-word comes flying out. And what was played on network television. And I'm like, I don't think we offend easily, but I'm like, it's Sanford and Son. The word flew out as well. And I'm just like, where's that line? Where would I draw that line? I thought it was funny. It was well done. It wasn't just done for the sake of shock value. It was pertinent to the storyline. Basically, so who were the neighbors? It was George, and the neighbors was, I can't even remember, but it was the interracial couple. The one that played the interracial couple, the woman, was actually Lenny Kravitz's mother, who herself, the actress, was in an interracial marriage at the time. God, Tom and Helen, thank you. Jeez, my brain just took a... So Tom turns to George and says, don't call me a honky. And George's exact words are, why are you being so sensitive? And literally on TV, Tom says, well, how would you like it if I called you A? And he says it. Now, Where do we draw the line? Do I think that should not have been allowed at that time? Am I offended that it happened back in the late 70s and early 80s? I'm not, right? I'm not. I actually think it made sense in the storyline. And the laugh track came up laughing. Every time Aunt Esther went at Fred and used that word, the laugh track came flying up. It was funny. Just doesn't have a place in today's society, I guess. Um, I don't know. It was the truth. It was a different time. I'm reading the comments now for sure. That was the norm for that time. Blazing Saddles is another clip I tried to use. So basically, the video I'm trying to do is show here are the things that during our childhood were funny, were inappropriate, were possibly offensive, and were definitely all three. And then I just wanted to play them in a series of clips, and I'm having a hard time with it. Because I just don't know if the intent will come through the way I mean it to. The scene in Blazing Saddles that I wanted to use is when the guy, the lookout, is up above and he sees the sheriff coming and he yells from above. The sheriff is and then the bell toll cuts over him using the N word. And what they heard down below is near. The sheriff is near. And it got a big laugh. And it was funny. But I don't know. It's tough to gauge. We grew up at a different time. That's exactly the scene, Steve. And it was funny. And so does intent matter? Because if intent matters, then the intent was to make people laugh, to bring people together, and to be funny. The intent wasn't to anger anybody or to offend anybody. So if intent matters, then it's okay. If intent doesn't matter, then it's not okay. Chico and the Man probably wouldn't fly on TV today. It wouldn't, but the broader picture is that it was on TV at all. When you look at the percentage of minorities that existed back then, the numbers were much smaller than they are today. And yet, on primetime television, without social justice being a thing, without, please do... From a GenX Black Guy full-on nerd. Please do what, E. Paxton? I'm sorry, I missed the first part. Richard Pryor, the toy. It's like you guys have seen what I did. I've got the scene from that in there as well. I have the scene from Airplane where the little girl says she likes her coffee black. These were moments in time that we were raised on. I've got Eddie Murphy talking about Eddie Murphy making fun of the fact that a kid in his neighborhood couldn't afford ice cream because he was on the welfare and had an alcoholic father. That's offensive. And it's also funny. It's inappropriate. And it's also timely. It's all of those things. But what I don't think kids understand today is that that's what shaped our sense of humor a lot of times. That's what we got to see. And the joke was on them. These racists that were on there, the Archie Bunkers, right? The joke was on them. The humor was in no way elevating them. Even George himself was a bigot, right? And a misogynist. He wasn't the hero. At those times when he did things like that, the writing made fun of them. The ice cream man is coming. I love that skit. I'm sorry. I think it's absolutely hilarious. You can't afford it. You can't afford it. And then we would do it. God help us. God forgive us. We'd go to school the next morning as 10 and 11 and 12-year-olds and buy an extra ice cream sandwich in the school lunch line and mock the kids that couldn't afford one. And it's wrong. But it's so funny. You dropped your ice cream. Psych, want a lick? Andrew Dice Clay was in there. I did the Jack and Jill went up the hill, both with $1 and a buck and a quarter. Jill came down with $2.50. Mom, throw down some money. It did inform our sense of humor. Eddie Murphy's skit of the Robinsons neighborhood was excellent. Not gonna lie, as a kid, my favorite part of Maude was Adrienne Barbeau. I can understand that. I've seen the reruns. If you can't recite Eddie Murphy comedian, you're not Gen X. And every now and then I will get boomers who will alert me to the fact that Eddie Murphy's a boomer. And I get that. He is. and that the people that we watched at the time were boomers or silent gen. And somehow, I guess it would be the same as us scolding millennials and saying, no, 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 you didn't watch Friends because they're boomers. It's what we watched as children. Friends is what our millennial younger brothers, sisters, cousins, nephews, nieces, whatever watched as children. What you watch as adults is one thing. What you watch as a child is transformative. It informs who you will become. That's why it's so important. The music we listen to was written and performed by boomers because when we were kids, we weren't listening to Kids Bop for crying out loud. We were listening to adults. But it formed our musical aptitude, our appetite, our eclectic sense of enjoying different genres. I'm Gen X 16, watched Friends as an adult. I watched Friends as an adult. I can quote almost every scene, but it had less of an effect. I was watching my contemporaries at that point. Friends was good to me because it put up a mirror on what my 20s were like, hanging out with other friends. It was that period of my life when I'd left my family, right? I was no longer living at home. I was living with my roommates. I was living with my friends. I was going out. We had jobs. But I didn't yet have a family of my own. I wasn't married. I didn't have responsibilities. That's what I loved about Friends. But I watched it as a contemporary. I watched it as someone that said, hey, that's me on TV. And that's different. I think it's never wrong to be kind and caring, but if we ever whined about that as kids, we would have been teased mercilessly. Yeah, of course. We were teased about everything, but it also created this sense of self-preservation in us that I can tell you doesn't exist in kids today, whether it's good or it's bad. Case in point, if I was a Phil Collins fan, and I liked Phil Collins music, it was pop music, it was soft, it was nothing life changing. But if my mom said, "Hey, I'm going to go buy you a poster to hang in your room," and I knew that my friends would see what poster I hung in my room, whether I listened to it or not, that poster was going to be Metallica. It was going to be Nirvana. It was going to be Blink 182 at some point. It was going to be lots of things, but I promise you, it was never going to be Phil Collins. We had this sixth sense that's like, yeah, no, 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 no. That's not going on the wall. When people said, hey, John, what did you watch last night? If I was 14 years old and I watched The Sound of Music, the last thing you would hear me admit to was that I watched The Sound of Music. Dude, Wirehead. I love Phil Collins. I love Genesis. Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Some of the old Genesis stuff with Phil on drums, or even later, awesome. But I didn't admit it. Tom Petty, not so much, James, and you know that. We figured it out on self-preservation. Tammy says I had a ton of posters. A little bit easy. Oh, Betty, thank you so much. A little bit easier for you girls, I think. You girls judged each other differently. Guys judged each other one way, you girls judged each other another. For sure. One video I am going to make, somebody sent me Gen Z taught, hey John, what did you watch last night? Beaches? Not last night. Somebody sent me a video where Gen Z is saying how they're a different breed because when the world is burning down around them, they know how to make fun of it. They have a dark sense of humor. They don't own that. I'm not taking it away from them, even though that's not what I see. When I see Gen Z, the last thing I see is them laughing in the face of fire. That's not the Zoomers I'm acquainted with for the most part. But for them to say they own that, I'm allowing them to say it about themselves. I'm not going to try to label their generation for them. That's on them. But what they can't do is say they own that. Because we're the generation that on January 29th came to school with an entire stand-up routine filled with jokes around the Space Shuttle Challenger. Literally the next day. Millennials had jokes after 9/11. The jokes that came out, dead baby jokes, somebody said. Yep, we can all do it, guys. NASA need another 7 astronauts. Gallows humor, to Quark's point. Every generation does it. and it's wrong and it's offensive and it can be hurtful. When it happens, the adults in the room kind of look and say that's wrong, forgetting that that's just how we did it. Blue eyes, yep, one blue over here, one blue over there. Boomers still have no idea what like a prayer means, and a boomer performed it. Have you seen the video where the church group is singing like a prayer? That's down on my knees. To be fair, I didn't know that either at the time. My buddy thinks I'm lying that I was in school the day of the Challenger explosion. They wheeled the TV. They wheeled it in. You watched it, and they wheeled it out. Laughter is a good way to cope. Laughter is about the only way to cope. I mean, grief has its place. Crying has its. We don't tend to cry very much as a generation. If you're a guy that grew up when I grew up, crying was something you did and hope that nobody ever saw you do it. I don't think that's right, but it's the way it was. How did Jeffrey Dahmer pick out his victims with a fork and a knife? How about, you guys said dead baby jokes. How about grosser than gross jokes? Anyway, a lot of them. I see Challenger. I was a little older. I was born in 70. So when was Challenger? 86? I think it was 86, right? January 28th, 1986. I'm trying to remember. Somebody fact check me. Was it 87? I didn't think it was 87 because that would make me 17. I thought I was 16 at the time. 86, 86. Yeah, I think it was 86. So 86 would have put me in my sophomore year of high school, and we were testing. The smart kids, the gifted and talented, yeah, there was an expression that got me beat up. Us gifted and talented kids back in the day got to take our PSATs a year early. So on January 28th, 1986, I was I guess I was 15 still. I was 15 years old and taking my PSATs when all of a sudden all the proctors in the room started talking and whispering, and you could just tell there was shock. And finally they told us kids, they're like, listen, obviously you know something's going on. Here's what happened. For those that don't know, today a space shuttle was launched and there was a teacher, a civilian on board, and it blew up, and it appears that there are no survivors. We're going to take a break for a couple minutes. You guys have to stay at your seat because this is a proctored test. Take 2 or 3 minutes and then please continue with your test. And that was it. We continued with our test. National Merit School Scholar, me too. Yep, 15 just before my birthday, Stacy. You are correct. All the girls in my high school were wearing Bon Jovi and Poison shirts, while most of the guys wore Guns N' Roses and Metallica. Yep. 7 Up, never had it, never will. Where did the astronauts vacation? All over Florida. Was it a Monday? I don't know. I'd have to look that up. But I know a lot of younger Gen Xers, like I said, that cart wheeled in and wheeled out. One of the co-hosts of the talk show I do, the Three View Mirror, Shell, was up for that as well. She was one of the finalists. What does this button do? A lot of people know a lot of people that were on that short list. Was it a Tuesday? That feels right. Big Bird was supposed to be on it. Could you imagine? I remember that they were going to send up Big Bird as part of the stunt. That was one of the things they talked about. Could you imagine a generation of kids watching Big Bird go up in a space shuttle that blew up? Whoever turned that idea down, God bless them for having the foresight to say, maybe this is a bad idea. Because as messed up as we are, if we were that generation that saw Big Bird blow up all over the sky, I don't know what we would all be like today. That's funny. I mean, funny. I'm saying it's funny. It wouldn't have been funny. It would have been tragic. The fact that I said it's funny too. The Big Bird suit was too tall to fit. And maybe on the way up, not on the way down. Feathers everywhere. Big Bird would have been a bluebird. You guys are evil. Now we're fried chicken. Now we're making jokes of something that didn't even happen. Yeah, that would have been worse than Arctic's dying, and that's saying something. Uh, I don't believe the Big Bird story. No, actually, again, I don't know how far it went. I can confirm that at least it was something that they were talking about. Um, Again, you got to remember that at this point it was so normal. It was shuttles were coming up and down, and no one was paying any attention. NASA funding was under threat. They needed a stunt to get people watching again, and in the worst possible way, they got it. Cindy says, I'm crying over here. Somebody on YouTube wrote it was like WKRP with the turkeys. Denise says, come on, guys, you're going to traumatize me. Uh, yeah, so, oh my God, Grover could fly. I remember hearing about that too. No, it's definitely true. And it's been confirmed. Oh my God. Oh my God. The Les Nessman and the turkey drop, but instead it's Big Bird. Y'all are evil. Wire it stop. It hurts. Uh, could Big Bird fly? We would have found out. I never trusted Big Bird. Have I seen the tinfoil theory? It didn't happen. They're all still alive and teaching in universities. I've seen it. I think we've all seen it. It happened. I mean, I guess. Carly says buckets of barbecue sauce. Oh, the humanity. It is definitely a Gen X thing. And it wasn't so much an older boomer or silent gen thing, right? They were more composed than we were. The dark humor, the dark comedy is definitely the latter half of the boomers. And then us and especially the older millennials, they're in on the joke too. But like my parents, they were not impressed. Teachers were really not amused when they heard this from us. Shock, disappointment. Like they couldn't believe that we were making fun of it. What's wrong with you? How can you kids be so heartless? How can you kids be like that? I remember that shock on teachers' faces when they registered what it was we were doing. What they didn't realize is we weren't making fun of it. We weren't making fun of it. We didn't think any of it was funny. Um, it's just when you grow up, I think, believing at 5 years old, 6 years old. They talk about school shooters today, and it's a traumatic experience. I've got a 12-year-old that every time there's a active shooter drill in school, she comes home bothered, and as she should. The concept of it is traumatizing. It's scary. We talk about it. We bring up statistics, and I try to make her understand that even though it's happening more than it ever should, because let's face it, one is too many. It's still the safest place she could be at that point in time. And in that vein, though, we weren't worried about something happening in our school as kids. And this is what I don't think they understand. It's a tough concept for them to grasp that as bad as it is what's happening today, and it's horrible and it's preventable, and please don't think I'm underplaying it. But for us, it wasn't a matter of imagining something bad happening to our school. I remember being 9 years old and truly believing the world was going to end, that I was going to meet my end in a fireball. And it was that scene from the day after where you see the fireball coming and then it's just over. I really, 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 really believed that was how the world was going to end as a child. So now when you take kids at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old and that happens, I think it does something to you where you're like, all right, fine. And we didn't, the 80s, we didn't think we were going to live into the 2000s, Wirehead says. And he's right. We thought the world was going to end. We really did. And it's just different. I'm not playing let's compare traumas. But what I'm saying is I don't think kids today can understand just how close to midnight we were on the nuclear clock. We thought it was game over. We really did. Thanks to the show In Search Of. I thought I was going to die from a lot of horrible things. Well, that damn show told me that we were on the edge of another ice age. And then the ozone layer going away. And I mean, yeah, you're that show didn't do us any favors either. Post-apocalyptic things. We saw Red Dawn. We saw Mel Gibson. We don't need another hero. I can't. I'm again. My brain is flipping. Mad Max. It was coming. Nostradamus, Tracy. I remember reading about Nostradamus, and I think that was In Search of, and that was another one that gave proof that we were gonna. It was over. We were not making it past 1999. Thunderdome. Yep, that was the one I wanted. We were so convinced World War III was around the corner that when Iran invaded Iraq, we're like, yep, here it comes. That's true. Um, yeah, under the desks, that thing, the whole that would enable them to identify us. You guys get that, right? They didn't have us going under our desks because the desk had magic properties. They had us under our desks so that, to someone's point, if anything was left, they could at least identify by what's left of the body in the place that it should have been, supposedly. Hey, Katie Jane. We also grew up not too far from a military base that had nuclear war. Yeah, 1,000%. We knew that we were a target. Our halls were the bomb shelters. It was scary. And again, I'm not saying let's compare traumas. I'm saying there's a reason our humor is as dark as it is, because there comes a point when the only thing you have left is to laugh at it. That's it. So we did. Location ID was the reason for being under the desk. Exactly, Wirehead. Truth. Quicksand is the reason I started doubting everything. Living close to Niagara Falls was a target. That was my plan. We were right there. Plus, we had a nuclear plant in Ghana. We had the Niagara Falls. My girlfriend's dad at Geneseo was a professor there, had a bomb shelter at his house. Well, and again, the older boomers, I'm sorry, the younger boomers could remember the bomb shelters because in the 60s, that was it. It was a different portion of the Cold War. It really heated up with us. I don't think the people that lived through the 6 days of the Cuban Missile Crisis at the time, they didn't know how close they were. They were very close. They just didn't know it. We knew how close we were. We actually thought we were closer than we in truth were. When it's our time, it's our time. I guess life. Gen X knows how to take a joke. Lots of folks around here at bomb shelters. BZ Hokey, do your kids know anything about the nuclear world we lived in? I'm going to talk about that in a second. BZ as well says we had pew-pews and cars and trucks at school. We did. I've told the story many, many times. I had a friend that brought his 30-06 through the hallway because he was hunting that afternoon with the school coach, high school teacher. And he's just like wanted to show that we didn't cause, and all the trucks outside had gun racks. Now, in terms of my kids, Hokey, yeah, we've talked about it. They have a hard time grasping it. When I tell them that we thought that the world was coming to an end, the video I told you that I want to respond to that talks about Gen Z being this group of kids that can laugh at death, one of the things they talk about is how in 2018, 2019, when it felt like 1980 again, when for a minute it seemed like World War III was on everybody's lips, they we laughed through it for those couple of years when it kind of came back. And all I remember during that time was saying, hey, go grab an older friend that's part of Gen X. They'll walk you through this. We've been here before. I even think that Gen X or boomers created bullying. 50s. I think bullying is just a natural human instinct, unfortunately. I don't think any of us created it. Again, we made fun of it. It was the plot of a lot of our movies and TV shows. We put up with it in a way that's not being put up with today. And I honestly, my kids think the way that we dealt with bullying was bad. I actually think it made things better. Just my opinion. This zero tolerance bullshit, I've no, fuck that. Put it bluntly. There's no zero tolerance. The bully needs to get his ass handed to him. I've got daughters, and I told them both, if someone's bullying you, there's generally one punch in the fight, and it's the first punch. If you're waiting to get hit first in order to defend yourself, it's too late. And if the school says that even though you're the one that was bullied and they started it, they have zero tolerance. If you're in a fight, you're both suspended. I'll pick you up from school and take you out for ice cream. I'll buy you something. Don't be a victim. Stand up for yourself. That's how we dealt with it. And I got my butt kicked standing up for myself. But I'll tell you one thing, I was never a victim as a result of it. I didn't see myself as a victim. Salient says, I was taught if someone hit you, hit back, don't take shit. My dad, like I said, told me first and foremost, don't even wait to get hit. If it's getting to that point, don't let them have the first hit. There's no point in that. If they're already in your face and shoving you and it's going to go down, either run, which sometimes discretion is the better part of valor. You'll have to deal with that in a different way. But stand up for yourself. Bullying is different with the internet. Bullying doesn't end. I get that. Jonathan, I've said it a million times. Now, you say, and you make a point, that if you got home in the 80s, once you got home, you were safe. What I will ask you to think about, when we got home as kids that were bullied in the 80s, it wasn't a safe space at that point. The problem with that, with our version, was we had to imagine what we thought was going on once we got home. Today, kids will look online and they'll see what kids are saying about them. Kids will be in a text thread and they'll see for themselves exactly what's being said about them. Their friends are sending them snips and screenshots. They know what's being said about them. And it's horrible and it's tough. But I sometimes, knowing is at least a step in the right direction. You can do something about it. You're aware. We didn't know. And I can tell you from my personal experience, somebody that was bullied, not knowing the things that I created in my head that I imagined were being said about me. The people that I imagined were doing these things was a lot worse than what was actually happening. And then number two, you weren't safe, because I'll tell you what, my older brother dragged one of these bullies out of his own house and kicked his ass from coming after me. So we found ways to connect even at home. And again, that's just, I'm not disagreeing with anybody. I'm just saying that there's always another side of it we don't necessarily think. And once we got home, didn't necessarily mean we were safe. But to your point, yes, the internet brings a whole other side to it. I work at a K through 8 school and the parents are bullies. I think they always have been. Sometimes to their own kids. I'm 40. I was the little pit bull in school. Your parents told you to go back out there and fight. Yeah. I knocked out a girl for picking on my sister. Cindy Buckner, I will tell you, even as an adult working in bars, some of those bars didn't have bouncers, so that when things happened, we went over the bar and had to break it up. I've gotten in the middle of fights with ginormous individuals who are intent on destroying one another. And I still would jump in between if necessary and often put myself at risk, but far less risk between those two monster men than any two women fighting. The biggest threat to my existence was always trying to break up fights between two women. And I'm not trying to be sexist or misogynistic or saying anything like that. I'm just stating fact that women, man, dude, don't get in the middle of women fighting. They will join forces just long enough to tear you to shreds, then getting back to dispatching one another. Stacy Combs, her words, not mine. No, bitches are crazy. I love still working at a bar, Tracy. It's a kinder, gentler bar. It's more of a restaurant. Mickey says women are vicious. Cat fight, they will both turn on you. They join forces. It's the strangest thing you've ever seen. One moment they're trying to end each other's very existence, and then it's like they tag out or something. Hey, Teresa, and they're like best friends with a mutual goal in mind. And unfortunately, you are that mutual goal. And it's like watching this choreography develop. Like they're in sync, and they get rid of you, and then go back to going after one another. It's insane. And of course, I couldn't ever hit a woman. I never would. I don't care if she hits me. It just never would happen. Would I try to defend myself by restraining her, getting out of the bar? But we had this one bartender, Diana, and the minute we hired her was the best thing ever because she could kick ass and she would just go in there and take care of business. So that was kind of cool. Women are psychotic coming from a woman. Worked the door at a bunch of bars on Young Street from 89 to 92. Lots of crazy adventures, great adventures. Guys, I see a lot of people signing up on Facebook for the subscribing. Thank you for that. I don't know where you guys are seeing a subscription link, but I appreciate it. Hokey, again, I appreciate you so much. The gifts on the YouTube side of the house, I appreciate. What time is it? It always goes faster than I wanted to. 8:55. Okay. Love you right back. My life, truly mean that. So a couple things for cleanup. Number one, on the Facebook side of the house and in the community section of YouTube. Every week on Sunday night, I launch a 3-day trivia crack challenge, right? This week, the challenge is already underway, and it's not 3 days. It's actually 7 days, and we're on day 3. But thank you so much for the stars, Debbie. But the coolest part of the 7-day challenge is you guys can win money. Right now, I know that first place, at least last I looked, I did, Janine, I did. Last I looked, one of our members is actually winning the challenge. Sheila, I think you're still in first place. I see you over on Facebook. We're on day 3, 4 days to go. First place will get a $500 Amazon gift card. Second place gets a $300 Amazon gift card. And third place gets a $100 Amazon gift card. But more importantly, for me at least, is the bragging rights. Because you guys go through the link that I provide and it puts you on my team. There's 2 other creators that are both 80s era creators with followings actually bigger than mine. And I don't want them to win. For bragging rights, I want to win. The link is actually right there. I can see it on Facebook. I've got the link showing. YouTube, if you guys want to go to my bio, you'll see it in the link tree. We've got more than a couple hundred people on here. I would love it if all of you guys would go through that link and play. It's free to play. Full disclosure, you may see an ad because, again, full disclosure, Trivia Crack sponsors my page. And it's really nice. They do a nice job helping take care of me. So I do benefit from them sponsoring me. So they will show ads throughout the event. You may see a video or something, but it doesn't cost anything. And it helps me out. And hopefully I'd love it if all of you win. I mean, if we get first, second, and third place, I would absolutely love that. Debbie, thank you again. When does this one end? It is 7 days. It started on, somebody help me out. What day is it today? The link, Quark, if you go to, you're on YouTube. I don't know if you follow me on Facebook. But if you go to my bio right here on my YouTube page, when we're done here, there's a link in my link tree. If you're on Facebook, it's all over. I've got it in my story. I've got it in my Instagram story. I've got it in my bio again. Work in the morning. Have a great day, Mickey. I work in the morning too. Joella says she doesn't see it. I see it as a pinned comment at the top of the comments on Facebook. But again, if you just go to my Facebook page, you will see it as a pinned post at the top of my wall. And you will also see it in my bio. It's https://triviacrack.com/ what is that, an L? /GenX channel. But it is the biggest thing I've got going right now. And again, if you guys could win all 3, that means our followers take home what? $900 on Amazon? I'm good with that. Wish him a happy birthday for me too, Wire. I leave for work at 6:30 every morning. I get to watch the sunrise. I'm more of a sunset kind of guy. Just got here. How are you? Doing good, Mark. Appreciate it, buddy. Bills won, so I'm happy. Thursday, it's over. That is correct. But even if you let's say you didn't join in, today's day 3, it'll let you play round 1, 2, and 3 today. And then you can play 1 every day. Or if you forget tomorrow, you can always catch up. Just make sure you go in before Thursday. I love bar hours. I'm a night person. I've always been a night person. Thank you, Marie. Appreciate the likes over on YouTube. That's cool, Sue. Black says to dream the dreams that no mortal should ever dream. Poe, the Raven. I go to work in the dark, come home in the dark. Well, but the cool thing is, whether we've noticed it or not, the days have been getting longer. So that's cool. Since what? December 21st. Have a great week, everybody. So hit that trivia crack. Subscribe, like the pages. Somebody mentioned that I'm very close to my 100,000 on YouTube, which I just hit 700,000 followers on Facebook. Thank you for that. I'm at like $158 on Instagram, and I'm less than 3,000 away on YouTube. So subscribe on YouTube if you don't already. Share the page. Let's keep growing the community, just for fun more than anything else. Follow you on your A True Home. My birthday's on the 14th. Happy birthday on the 14th, Aaron. Kevin says, I learned some stuff on the crack, like Tony Basil sang on the Mickey Mouse Club before doing Mickey. I learn stuff on it all the time. I didn't realize that Chuck Woolery that we lost last year hosted the Wheel of Fortune. I thought that one was a wrong answer, but he was the first host on the Wheel of Fortune. I had no idea. Lucky Spinner, I appreciate that, Luck Spinner. Thank you. Happy birthday to any birthdays this week. I will try to go live again on Tuesday for YouTube. And again, Friday, again, YouTube for the 3-View Mirror. And then back on Facebook as well for the Sunday Night Wonderful World of Gen X. And then wherever I can, everywhere else throughout the week. I appreciate you guys being here. This was fun. Always fun. It always feels like we talk about different stuff. It's always pretty cool. Have a great week. Be safe. Stay warm. My prayers go out to anyone and everyone everywhere, but specifically Los Angeles and California. Stay safe. Pray you guys all get through it okay. See you guys as we go through. Have a great week, y'all. God bless. Love you.